All right, so welcome to this first Zoom session on calligraphy. I'm just gonna get started slowly, but just want to mention upfront that you can join the calligraphy club for I think only $10 per month, or I think it's $49 per year, and you're going to be able to access all of our Zoom sessions. A lot of Zoom sessions like this one will be free. It will introduce people to calligraphy, and if you like what you see, if you like what you're learning, you can join the calligraphy club. So I look forward to joining you. And in these Zoom sessions, you can ask your questions in the chat box in French or in English. So let's just get started and talk about the equipment that we're going to be using in our training. Now, this is really for beginners. After you go through my training, you can use more sophisticated tools. But let me share with you two basic options that you have when you're starting out in calligraphy. Um, Basically, I highly recommend the Itoya pen. So this is a great pen that is very convenient. It has two ends. It has several colors. Here we have red and black, but you can choose violet and I think pink and green and blue. So black is usually the one that most people choose. So let's take a look at the structure of this pen. On one end, you have the 2 millimeters. So this is very small, 2 millimeters. I'll do a demo later. At the other end is actually what we're going to be using is 3 millimeters. And this is perfect because it's big enough for students to clearly see what they're doing. So this is the Itoya pen itself for, I think, $350 at Omer Dessert or any art store. You can purchase online as well, Itoya. This is really what I recommend because it's easy. You just, you know, pull off the cap and you can start practicing no matter where you are. You just need this pen and paper. The other, which is more for advanced users, is it's the Pilot Parallel pen. And this one is 2.4 millimeters. It's still too small. 2.4 is too small for beginners. I recommend this one, which is a little bit bigger. It's 3.8. So 3.8 is much bigger than the 3.0 millimeters here. But this is really kind of like your reward after you achieve a certain level of proficiency with the Itoya pen. So I really don't recommend this pen, but I might use this pen to teach, but really it's the Itoya pen that you should be using. So let's take a look at what calligraphy is all about. So somehow my camera is structured so that it's a little bit oblique here. So the great thing about Western calligraphy is that we have only 26 letters. So it's not like Chinese calligraphy where children have to memorize like minimum 1,000 different characters, right? So it's really difficult to learn. So in Western calligraphy, we have 26 letters, but even better, you can structure these 26 letters into 5 distinct families, and each family will have common characteristics. So let me just show you. You have the A family. Somehow it doesn't zoom. Okay, you have the A family. So let me write it again. And the A family, as you'll notice, the Q has the same body. This is what we call the body of the letter. The G also has the same body. This one. The U It's a little bit similar, except that it doesn't have the horizontal bar here. And we have the D, also the same body. The Y, this is one way to write the Y. It also is similar to the U here. Now, there's another way to write the Y, which we'll cover later on, and this is how some people write it. But one of the versions of the Y makes it part of the A family. Okay, so that's the A family. And so what happens is that when you practice, you should really practice one family at a time. You shouldn't switch from one family to the next because it doesn't train your finger muscles in the right way because you have to change all the time, right? For example, when you go to the gym, if you want to do push-ups, you're going to do 20 push-ups. You're not going to do one push-up and then one sit-up, right? You do 20 push-ups and then you do 20 sit-ups. So in the same manner, you should stick to practicing one family at a time. So in contrast to the A family, we have the second family that I'm going to teach you after you join the calligraphy club. Um, the second family is what we call the B family. Whoops. So you notice that the body is quite different from the A family. It's almost like the reverse. So once again, the B. And another letter that belongs in the B family is the P because you can see that the body structure is the same. The H also. Now the H doesn't have this horizontal bar, but it still has the same structure. The N is similar to the H, and of course the M is just a duplication of the N. And finally, we have the R, and you can see that here it has the same arc as the M, the N, the H, the P, and the B. So this is the B family. And the reason why I start with these two families is that they're really fundamental. They're really, I wouldn't say tricky, but really challenging. Um, and so it's important to master the foundation. So now let's take a look at the other families, which tend to be a little bit easier. The third family is definitely probably the easiest because it consists of almost like straight lines. So for example, we have the I, right? So it's really just a simple line. We have the L. This is a simple L. We'll do a more sophisticated, more elegant L later on. Um, we have the K. We have the J. We have the F. And there's one missing. Oh, the T. Yeah, the T. So I'll explain later on the different proportions. But basically, this is the third family that we're going to be learning. The fourth family is composed of straight lines also mostly, but they're not straight vertical lines like the previous family. They're more like diagonal. So for example, we have the V here, and you can see that it's almost like a triangle. We have the W. We have the X. We have the Y, which we saw before. And we have the Z. So this is usually a fairly simple family to master. Now, the last family is a bit challenging, and that's why we leave it for last because it's kind of like a very special kind of family where each letter is very particular. So we start with the O. Now, the thing to remember about this family is that it consists of ovals, right? So you can see that it's really an oval. If you look at the negative space here, it looks like an egg. So that's how it should be. So I call it the oval family because if we look at the other letters here, they have this oval structure. Same thing with the E here. It has this oval structure. So it's really based on the O here. And finally, we have the S, which is quite a challenging and very special letter on its own. Notice that the horizontal bar at the top is a little bit shorter than the bottom horizontal bar. So let's do it again. There we go. So there you have it, friends. We have the 5 families. And like I said, when you practice these 5 families, you should practice one family at a time. So if you practice the V family, then you should just do these letters. If you practice the B family, then just do these letters. Don't jump from one family to the next because it's going to confuse your finger muscles. All right. So that's basic italic. Um, Now, I want to talk about the proper size of the letters because as you can see here, I don't have any guidelines and I'm going to provide PDF sheets that you can print so that you can write on those guideline sheets. So it's going to make it easier, but just to briefly explain the size of the letters, what we do is that we take the width of the pen. So here we're going to draw a square, one on top of the other, like this. And basically, the height of the body of each letter should be um, 5 widths. So this is 5, right? So this is really the ideal, the canonical um, height of the body, not the ascender. The ascender is about 3 the width, right? So when we have a letter with an ascender like the D, then it should have a height of 3 width. Same thing with the descender. So the descender should have 1, 2, 3. So it should stop here. So if we write the letter G, it should be like this. Okay, so this is how you create the right height for letters. And to show you how useful this measurement approach is, this calibration approach, we're going to use the 2 mm nib here, which is much smaller. So if I use the same height, you can see that it doesn't really make sense because it looks too thin, right? This A is too thin with respect to this A because this A used a width of 3 mm, but this one is only, no, sorry, 3.5 mm. This one is only 2 mm. So this is only 2 mm. And this one is 3.5, I believe. Is that right? Yeah, I think so. So we have to adjust the height of this 2 mm size letter. So what we do, we draw 5 nib width. And so this should be the proper height. And so here you see that it looks more like calligraphy. But like I said before, you should not practice with this 2 millimeter point because it's just too small. But it's useful, if you just want to write a letter, um, and it's not really calligraphy, but you can still practice a bit of calligraphy. So advanced users can use this 2 millimeter uh, tip, but for beginners like yourself, you should really use the 3.5 millimeter nib. Of course, we're going to learn also capital letters. So for example, if I say bonjour in French, I would have to be here. Then I would use lowercase. Italic is really versatile. It's typically the first calligraphy style that beginners are learning because it's so versatile, it's so much fun, and it really teaches you the fundamentals. And after that, you can learn the other styles, which I'm going to demonstrate now quickly. We have Roman, which of course was invented by the Roman Empire. It's very majestic. So you can see it's very different from italic. This is the simplest uh, version of Roman. There are more sophisticated uh, versions, but I'm just teaching the very basic. So that's Roman. And if you compare it with italic, you can see that it's more majestic, it's more imperial, which is appropriate given the Roman Empire, uh, than italic, which emerged during the Italian Renaissance, I think around 1500. The third style that we're going to learn, which I'm not really crazy about, but it's still fun to do, is Gothic. So Gothic is very rectangular, very angular. I think it comes from Germany. Basically, any complete calligrapher has to really master at least 5 basic styles. Gothic is the third one. The fourth one is very interesting. It's called Foundation. So it's very legible. It's almost like what you find on your computer keyboard. It's called Foundation. It's very round, very legible, but unlike italic, it takes more time to write. Of course, I'll show you how to mix these 5 styles, uh, kind of like fusion calligraphy. You mix these 5 styles and you create your own style. Now, in my case, you notice that out of habit, I can write without using guidelines, but I really, really recommend that beginners use a lined notepad so that you don't have to focus on the alignment of letters. In my case, I've been doing this for years, so it's pretty much aligned. And the final one is called Amshel. It's very exotic. It looks like the letters in Lord of the Rings. Very interesting. So there you have it. You have the 5 styles that we're going to be learning in the calligraphy club. And like I said, you can join for only $10 per month or $50 per year if you pay for the whole year. And you'll have unlimited access to all of our Zoom sessions. And what's great is that in the Zoom sessions, you can actually point your phone to your calligraphy, so you can share your screen, so I can see your calligraphy and I can provide advice, I can coach you, I can correct you. And that's really important when you're learning calligraphy, because it's you're never going to be able to learn calligraphy by just reading a book and try to replicate what the master is doing. You have to do it, and the master or the teacher has to tell you what you did right, what you did wrong. So that's the fastest way for you to learn calligraphy. So I basically started the calligraphy club because I wanted to teach people through Zoom, so they can be anywhere in the world. I wanted to teach people the basics of calligraphy, and after that, once they understand the principles and how to critique themselves, they can learn on their own. But it's really important to have a master teach you, because in my case, it took me years to master calligraphy. Why? Because I learned on my own. But if you learn with my teaching and my supervision and guidance, it's going to take you just a couple of weeks of intense practice. And after that, you can explore the wonderful world of calligraphy on your own. So anyways, guys, it was a great pleasure to do this demo. I look forward to seeing you in the calligraphy club. And just come back to this Facebook page to see our future free Zoom sessions.